What's going on, fellas? This is Sir Stud Muffin, leader of Affliction, and today we're going to be talking about a very important topic because we had issues with this last few wars, and we had some issues with this last war, or this war that we're in right now, actually, kind of towards the beginning. So, it's a bit of a lengthy topic, and I'm going to try and go through it as quick as I can. Hopefully, this video is not too long, but I really think people need to watch this video. So, the topic of today's video is planning. I don't know exactly what kind of video this is going to be. I'm going to let you know if you need to look at your screen. I guess it's going to be kind of like a podcasty thing. But let's go ahead and get right into it. So, I have 7 points, and they're all about planning, the importance of planning, and some tips for you guys because I feel like we're not planning like we should and people are really struggling. So, first thing, number one thing, don't be scared to give advice. I see most of the time myself giving advice, and others may not think they can give good advice or that they're worried because people might get angry at them if they give them bad advice, as in uh, the event that transpired at the beginning of this war when I kind of got into it with Danny and Jim. Not necessarily trying to call them out, but it just happens. I gave them advice. They weren't necessarily fully comfortable with it. And as a result, they didn't necessarily 3-star. And they had close 3-stars. It was like 95%, 99%. But it just didn't happen. So don't be scared to give advice. Especially don't be scared to give me advice. I really like to hear what people see when they look at a base because it's very important to get different perspectives, not only on the base but also your plans. Everyone has different experiences with their attacks, and therefore you want to have multiple views on a base or your strategy or whatever. So the second point is when given advice, take it and understand what they're trying to tell you. So figure out why they might be telling you this and how you might use it. For example, let me just go ahead and show you base number 1. Right, so I ran a Go Valo on this base. Didn't work out very well, was not very smart. And if I was giving someone advice on this base, I would tell them not to run Go Valo, and I would tell them they probably want to run a Hogo Wee Wee. So why would I say that? Well, the reason you don't want to run Valkyries is because it's going to spread. The design of the southern teaser at the bottom is going to spread your troops out. That's the whole point of it. And with Valkyries, these barracks right here are very desirable, or that's just part of how the AI works. I guess that's the best way to say it. And they're going to split out, and they're going to split up as a result. And you want your troops, obviously, to go into the core. So that's why I would not run Govalo. How would you run Hogo Wee Wee? Well, you would run 3 golems at the bottom. You'd rage here with a jump. And the reason that you're doing this is because with the witches, it should kill all of these extra buildings. Your golems might spread out a little bit, but this jump is going to center. It should center 1 golem, your heroes, witches, and some wizards, which should be able to take out the Teslas and some of the air defense here. Now, I would not run back end loons because you have to take out these 2 air defenses. Therefore, I would run Hogo Wee Wee so that you can take out these defenses right here with a heal. Same with this. So that's the why and the how. And that just gives you an example of that. The third point, always have a purpose and expectations for each part of your plan. So let's just go into that example. What do I mean by purpose and expectations? Every specific part of your plan, especially for Town Hall 9, needs to have a purpose and a reason. So if I bait the CC, what is the purpose? The purpose is I drop one giant and I'm to take the CC out, and my expectation is that the CC is that one giant is gonna get the full lure. Pretty reasonable expectation, right? If I'm running a Hogo Wee Wee at the bottom, the Go Wee Wee portion, what am I expecting to take out? Well, I would expect out to probably take, like, maybe even draw a line of your main squad expectation. That's something I used to do, and we don't do that anymore. But I would draw like a border and say all of this whole southern teaser, plus some of this portion of the base. Hopefully, I'm gonna tank for the expos with my golems, with that extra tanking, and I expect to take all of this out with Go Wee Wee, and I expect to take this out with my back end hogs, right? So the purpose is obviously you want to take out some of the exterior buildings that don't really have that much of an impact on your troops. However, it's good to use back end hogs, and also you want to get to the expos, which are the main threat of this base, right? You also can bring in like back end loons. Purpose behind that, of course, is that this air defense is going to be taken out, and you're taking a defense out that would be hurting your troops with low troop costs, right? So that's an example of purpose and expectations. And when you're looking at someone's plan, you need to understand the reasoning. And if you have to ask questions. Do that. That's very good. And if you can figure out kind of what they're expecting, and if you can, as a person giving advice, understand it, but as a person taking advice, be able to, I guess, communicate what your expectations and your purpose is, then you'll be able to have more successful attacks because people can give you better advice. The fourth point, always plan early. I see several plans that kind of go right before they attack, or the last 6 hours of planning is like when most of people plan. But you need to think that there are so many different people from different time zones that they aren't necessarily available for you in those last 6 hours right away, and they're focusing on their attack. So my best advice is to plan on the first day of prep. The first day of prep starts from 5 to 8, which is when you're going to you're going to attack on war day in that first 8 hours anyways. So why don't you start planning in the first 8 hours so that you have, what would that be, 16 hours to be given advice and talk about your plan. And you'll probably have more people on at that time that are available. In addition, when looking at plans in their earlier stages, see if this strat that they're even trying to do is good for the base. You should be able to pick up on different weaknesses of the base, and over time you're going to see these weaknesses more. For example, if you are even able to get to these loons, or air defense, you can obviously drop like only 3 and 3 loons back in. So that's just like a feature of the base, right? So you look for, are there areas that can be taken out by loons? Is there a southern teaser where you can take it out easily with like a heavy main squad and really kind of power your way into the base? Or is the base compact to where you can run hogs? Those are just examples of weaknesses of bases, and in looking at the weaknesses, you're going to be able to make a good strategy and find kind of the best way. With that being said, there are several different strategies to a base, and I'm going to show this in my recap, but number 2 and number 3 are essentially the same base, right? Subtle differences. The attacks on this base were 2 totally different attacks. One was a Go Valo, one was a like a Hogo Wee Wee, let me see. It was Tim, but they used two different attacks. So yeah, one was a logo Wee Wee and one was a Go Valo. Same concept, but two different attacks at the same time. And they both worked. So that's kind of cool. And with that being said, also, you need to choose an attack style that you're probably more comfortable with. In addition, with War Clan teams, I always give people the ability to change targets if need be, because more than likely, there's going to be someone else that is going to be more comfortable with that attack, and I with that attack strategy, and I try to choose bases and put it in a way where people are comfortable. But if you're just not comfortable, you need to tell someone and try and switch up, and we'll figure something out. Now, obviously, on harder bases, some people won't be comfortable, but you also have to be confident at the same time. So that's just a quick thing on that. The fifth thing that I have to say is don't see planning as a task. If you see it like that, then you're really in the wrong place, to be honest. This clan is a war-based clan, and planning is essential. Planning is 35% of the formula that we have now to kind of decide who's in arranged wars. And if you haven't gotten the explanation on that, you need to. I'm only going to be giving that through a Skype conference because I want to make sure, number one, you've gotten that, and number two, I'm not making a video on it because I want to hear your instant feedback. So that makes sure that I know who has actually heard the full spiel, and I also don't necessarily want to make it public. I know I can make it unlisted, but this just makes sure that people get it. It also has to be done through Skype because there's a lot of planning and it's not necessarily self-explanatory fully. So, with that being said, also, planning is essential to becoming a strong attacker. Strong attackers plan and take the more complex attack strategies and take a while to plan on that. It takes 5 minutes to sketch a plan, but it takes a little bit longer, maybe 30 minutes, depends on the base and the difficulties. But with some of the higher level bases that require like surgical goho and stuff like that, it takes a little back and forth commenting and whatnot, and that's not necessarily planning all at once. It's planning kind of over time. So that's why you want to plan early, but also why planning shouldn't be seen as a burden. I guess that's the best way to say it. The sixth thing is you want to educate yourself on different attacks and understand how they work. Obviously, the best way to do this is to watch replays of our attacks and see the AI of the attacks. Maybe on my attack, you could see how the Valkyries work. Try and understand the different aspects because AI is constantly evolving with the updates. For example, hogs and troops used to just kind of go in one direction, kill one defense, even if there were too many troops for that. Now you're going to notice that there's a little more artificial intelligence in that. And if the game sees too many troops on one defense, it'll kind of split off and send some hogs or whatever troop that is to another defense or another area. If you didn't notice that, you probably should pay attention. In addition, you want to be watching YouTube videos. I gave one of my recaps like 5 different YouTubers to watch, and I don't think people have been watching them. If you haven't, I would highly suggest you start because it will also help you to become a better attacker to see other clans and how they attack. The people and the clans that we're playing right now honestly aren't good, but you still need to have progression and practice because once we start getting into range wars, it's going to help you and you will see more attacks, but you also need to be prepared. Otherwise, this first range war we're going to have is going to be pretty rough, which is Friday. Just FYI. So, the last and final thing is think in steps when you plan. For a hog attack, first step, you need to bait the CC, kill the CC. Bait, kill, lure. I think there's like a JTJ thing that, or like a little acronym that JTJ uses, but that's like the first step, right? Lure and kill. The second thing, you want to figure out your deployment of hogs. Third thing is cleanup, right? 1, 2, 3. Step 1, 2, 3. Before Sketch was fully used, I used to use straight notes, and I would write step 1, step 2, step 3. If you feel like you might want to have that in addition to your sketch, that's totally fine. Or if you want to have sketch is a good way to visualize things, but it doesn't do well with steps, to be honest, and showing the steps on sketch. Maybe you might want to write step 1 on sketch or something like that, but you need to probably have some sort of word explanation. For Goho, just another quick example, what do you need to do? It depends, right? Cold-blooded Goho, you basically do the same thing, but step 1, bait lure. Step 2, or bait kills, excuse me. Step 2, main squad, golem going in, getting to the CC. Step 3, hog deployment. Step 4, like the heals and stuff like that, just like you would with regular hogs. And step 5 is cleanup, right? So think in steps. This helps with your planning 100%. If you just try and kind of have a general-ish idea, that's like kind of winging it, and that's not going to work well. You're not going to find success in doing that. So that about wraps this video up. Hopefully this video isn't too long. I'm not exactly sure. But this is Sir Studmuffin, leader of Affliction, and I'm out. Peace.